The massive alien ship appeared over New York without warning. It hung in the sky like a dark cloud, its metallic surface reflecting the morning sun. People stopped in their tracks, cars screeched to a halt, and the whole world seemed to hold its breath. Dr. Alex Reed watched the scene unfold from his university office window, his coffee growing cold on his desk. As Earth's leading expert in ancient languages, he had always believed that humanity would one day encounter alien life. But nothing could have prepared him for this moment. The aliens called themselves the Astral Empire. Their ships were sleek, their technology far beyond anything humans had achieved, and their attitude made it clear they viewed Earth as nothing more than a primitive backwater planet. "Your species has barely mastered spaceflight," High Consul Rith declared during the first diplomatic meeting, his silver skin gleaming under the conference room lights. "You still burn fossil fuels. Your languages are crude and limited." The alien's translator device made his words sound smooth, but the contempt in his tone was unmistakable. Alex sat quietly in the corner of the room, taking notes, while other Earth representatives argued about trade deals and technology sharing. His attention was fixed on something else entirely. The ceremonial greeting the aliens had performed contained patterns he had seen before. Later that night, Alex worked in his office, surrounded by ancient texts and tablets. His computer screen showed recordings of the alien ceremonies alongside photographs of ancient inscriptions found in Egypt, South America, and Asia. The similarities were too striking to ignore. "There's something here," he muttered, drawing lines between matching symbols. "These patterns aren't random." The next day, during another tense meeting, Alex noticed something that made his heart race. As High Consul Rith spoke about the Astral Empire's great achievements, he mentioned the Forgotten Ones, their ancestors who had supposedly gifted them their first technologies. The translator device stumbled over these words, as if some concepts couldn't be properly converted. Alex raised his hand, interrupting the consul mid-speech. "Your Excellence, could you tell us more about the Forgotten Ones?" he asked, choosing his words carefully. The alien's reaction was subtle but noticeable. A slight stiffening of his posture, a momentary pause before responding. "They are not relevant to our current discussions," Rith said dismissively. "Focus on the present, human." But Alex had seen enough. In that moment of hesitation, he had recognized something he had seen countless times in his work with ancient civilizations, the telltale signs of a culture that had lost touch with its roots. That evening, Alex made an urgent call to his old friend and colleague, Professor James Miller. "Jim, remember those weird symbols we found in that cave system last year? The ones that didn't match any known Earth language. I need you to send me everything we have on them. Right now." As Alex began piecing together the puzzle, he couldn't help but smile at the irony. The mighty Astral Empire, with all their advanced technology and supposed superiority, had overlooked something crucial. While they were busy mocking humanity's primitive nature, they had failed to notice that humans had spent centuries mastering the art of decoding lost languages and forgotten civilizations. The symbols in the alien ceremonies weren't just similar to ancient Earth writings. They were identical to inscriptions found in ruins across our planet. Somehow, the ancestors of the Astral Empire had visited Earth thousands of years ago, leaving behind traces of their presence that their descendants could no longer understand. Alex looked out his window at the alien ship still hovering over the city. "Mock us all you want," he whispered, adding another piece to his growing collection of evidence. "But your ancestors left us more than just scratches on stone. They left us a key to understanding everything you've forgotten." The road ahead would be challenging, but Alex knew he was onto something big, something that would change the balance of power between Earth and the Astral Empire forever. He just needed time to prove it. 2 weeks after the first contact, Alex found himself aboard a military transport plane heading to Mars. His discovery had caught the attention of Earth's Defense Council, and things had moved quickly after that. The evidence he presented was too compelling to ignore. The Astral Empire had been oddly quiet about Earth's first Mars base, almost too quiet, as if they were trying hard not to show interest in that particular region of the red planet. Now Alex knew why. Professor James Miller met him at the airlock of Mars Base 1, his usually neat appearance replaced by the disheveled look of someone who hadn't slept in days. "You need to see this," he said, not even bothering with a hello. "It's bigger than we thought." They walked through the narrow corridors of the base until they reached a new tunnel that hadn't been there in any of the official maps. The walls were rough, recently dug. Their flashlights revealed fresh excavation marks. "We found it 3 days ago," James explained, leading the way deeper into the tunnel. The sandstorm that hit last week uncovered something strange. At first, we thought it was just another rock formation. But then, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Alex's breath caught in his throat. The walls were covered in writings, the same symbols he had seen in the Astral Empire ceremonies, mixed with hieroglyphs that could have been pulled straight from an Egyptian tomb. "This isn't just similar to Earth writing," Alex said, running his fingers over the markings. "This is the missing link. The aliens who visited Earth thousands of years ago. They weren't just visitors. They were teachers." Their lights revealed more of the chamber. Strange machines lay half-buried in the dust, their purpose unknown but their designs far too advanced to be ancient human technology. In the center stood a pedestal with what looked like a control panel, its surface still glossy despite the ages. "Have you shown this to the Astral Empire?" Alex asked, already knowing the answer. James shook his head. "No, and based on what you've told us about their reaction to questions about their past, we decided to keep this quiet for now." Alex pulled out his tablet and began photographing everything. The writings told a story, one that the Astral Empire's leaders seemed to have forgotten or chosen to ignore. Their ancestors hadn't just visited Earth. They had established learning centers, teaching early humans about science, mathematics, and the stars. But something had happened, some great disaster or war that made them abandon their teaching mission. They left in a hurry, leaving behind their archives and technology, sealed away where they thought no one would find them. A sound from the entrance made them both turn. Elder Mex, one of the lower-ranking members of the Astral Empire's diplomatic team, stood there. Before either human could speak, he raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. "I am not here to stop you," he said softly. "I am here to help. Some of us have long suspected the truth about our past." Alex and James exchanged looks. This was unexpected, but it might be exactly what they needed, an ally from within the Empire itself. "Our leaders prefer to maintain the myth of our continuous superiority," Mex continued, moving closer to examine the writings. "They fear what would happen if our people learned that we lost so much of our ancestors' knowledge, that many of our current technologies are merely copied from remnants we found, without truly understanding the principles behind them." The revelation hit Alex like a physical force. The Astral Empire's mockery of humanity wasn't just arrogance, it was insecurity. They were afraid that humans, with their tradition of preserving and studying history, might discover the truth about their past. James switched on a portable scanner, its blue light sweeping across the walls. "We need to document everything before the Empire realizes what we found." Alex nodded, but his mind was already racing ahead. These ruins weren't just a historical discovery. They were a key to understanding technologies that even the current Astral Empire had failed to master. And somewhere in these writings was the proof that humanity's primitive dedication to preserving and studying the past might be exactly what was needed to unlock these ancient secrets. The underground lab buzzed with activity as Alex and James worked to decode the ancient texts. They had moved everything from Mars to a secret facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Elder Mex sat with them, providing insights about his people's current language that proved invaluable in understanding its ancient roots. "Look at this section here," Alex said, pointing to a holographic display of the symbols they'd found. "It's not just a language. It's a key to understanding their science. Each symbol contains layers of meaning." His fingers traced the glowing patterns in the air, revealing how simple shapes combine to form complex ideas. James nodded, comparing the symbols to his database of Earth's ancient writings. It's like they created a universal language of science. These same patterns appear in early human civilizations across the globe, but we never understood their true meaning until now. The team had been working nonstop for weeks. Coffee cups littered their desks, and the walls were covered with printouts showing their progress. Each breakthrough led to new discoveries, and each discovery revealed how much the Astral Empire had lost. "My people will not be happy about this," Mex said, his silver skin reflecting the blue light of the displays. "We've built our entire society on the belief that we are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. The truth that we've been merely copying our ancestors' work without understanding it." He left the sentence unfinished. Alex pulled up another section of text, this one detailing energy manipulation at a quantum level. "Your ancestors didn't just give early humans basic knowledge. They left behind their most advanced research, hidden in plain sight. They must have known something was coming, something that would make them leave suddenly." Their breakthrough came on a quiet Sunday morning. James had been cross-referencing the symbols with electromagnetic readings from the ancient devices they'd found, when something clicked. "The language isn't just for communication," he announced, his voice trembling with excitement. "It's a programming language for reality itself." The team gathered around his screen as he demonstrated. When certain symbols were arranged in specific patterns, they created fields of energy that could manipulate matter at its most basic level. The Astral Empire's current technology used similar principles, but in a crude, inefficient way, like using a sledgehammer where a scalpel was needed. "Your people have been reading these symbols like a child looking at a quantum physics textbook," Alex explained to Mex. "You recognized some basic patterns and copied them, but missed the deeper principles." He brought up an image showing how the Empire's fastest ships used 10 times more energy than necessary because they didn't understand the underlying mathematics. As they delved deeper into the ancient knowledge, they found instructions for technologies far beyond anything currently in use. Clean energy systems that could power entire planets, medical techniques that could cure almost any disease, and defenses that could protect against any known weapon. "We need to be careful with this," James warned. "The Empire's leaders are already nervous about our progress. If they realize how much we've discovered." He glanced at Mex apologetically. The alien nodded slowly. "They might see it as a threat to their power. Many of our leaders would rather destroy this knowledge than admit they've been wrong all these years." Alex saved another decoded section to their secure database. The weight of their discovery pressed down on him. They weren't just learning a lost language. They were unlocking the secrets of one of the most advanced civilizations that had ever existed. And somehow, against all odds, humanity's so-called primitive fascination with preserving and studying the past had made them the perfect people to rediscover these lost secrets. "We need to move faster," he said, pulling up another section of text. "The Empire's sensors will eventually detect the energy signatures from our tests. Before that happens, we need to understand enough to protect ourselves, and maybe help the Empire's people remember who they once were." Time was running out. Somewhere above them, the Empire's ships still circled Earth, their crews unaware that their ancestors' greatest secrets were being unveiled far below. The question wasn't if they would find out, but when, and whether humanity would be ready when they did. The first test of the ancient technology took place in a remote desert facility. Alex watched from behind thick safety glass as James activated the device they had built using the decoded instructions. The air shimmered, and a small metal ball began to float, surrounded by a soft blue glow. "Perfect containment field," James announced, checking his readings. "Using less than 1% of the power the Empire's gravity devices need." He couldn't hide the pride in his voice. In just 3 months, they had achieved what the Astral Empire had spent centuries trying to perfect. Admiral Kate Stone stood nearby, her face stern but her eyes showing a hint of wonder. "How long until we can scale this up?" Before Alex could answer, Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. On the monitors, they watched as 3 Astral Empire ships broke through the cloud cover above them. Their sleek forms cast long shadows over the desert sand. "They've detected the energy signature," Mech said, his voice tight with concern. "They're here to investigate." But Earth was ready. In the months since discovering the ancient archive, they had prepared for this moment. Hidden facilities around the globe had been quietly implementing the rediscovered technologies, building defenses that the Empire wouldn't expect. High Consul Rith's hologram appeared in the center of the room, his silver face twisted with barely contained anger. "We detect unauthorized use of restricted technologies. Explain yourselves." Alex stepped forward. "Restricted by whom, Consul?" "These are technologies your ancestors freely shared with humanity thousands of years ago. We're simply reclaiming our heritage." The Consul's image flickered as he processed this statement. "Impossible. You lie. Humans are not capable of understanding such advanced concepts." James activated another device. A dome of transparent energy spread over the facility, its surface rippling like water. When the Empire ships tried to scan them, their beams scattered harmlessly against the shield. "Not only do we understand it," Alex said calmly, "we've improved upon it. Your ancestors left their knowledge in our care, hidden in the languages and symbols you've forgotten how to read." The Consul's composure cracked. "You will surrender all research materials immediately. This knowledge belongs to the Empire." Admiral Stone stepped into view of the hologram. "No, Consul. This knowledge belongs to all of us. Your ancestors knew that. It's why they taught our ancestors in the first place." More alarms sounded. Around the world, other facilities were coming online. Shields similar to theirs appeared over major cities. New power plants activated, producing clean energy that made the Empire's fusion reactors look primitive in comparison. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Rith warned, but his voice had lost its usual confidence. Alex pulled up the original texts they had found. "Actually, we do. Let me show you what these symbols really mean. Not the simplified version your people have been using, but their true depth." He began explaining, watching his confusion, and then understanding spread across the Consul's face. The ancient language wasn't just a code or a set of instructions. It was a complete framework for understanding the universe itself. "Your people have been using these technologies like children playing with their parents' tools," James added. "We've spent months studying the actual principles behind them. Would you like to learn?" The offer hung in the air. Around them, more of Earth's new defenses activated. Satellites built with the ancient knowledge spread protective fields around the planet. Sensors more advanced than anything the Empire possessed monitored the space around them. Rith's hologram showed him talking urgently with others off-screen. When he turned back, his arrogance had been replaced by something close to fear. "The Empire's Council demands an emergency meeting." "Of course," Admiral Stone replied. "But this time, we'll meet as equals." After the hologram faded, Alex looked at the symbols floating above their workstation. In just a few months, humanity had leaped centuries ahead technologically. But more importantly, they had proven that their dedication to understanding the past, their determination to decode lost knowledge, had been their greatest strength all along. "Ready the presentation materials," he told his team. "It's time to show the Empire exactly what their ancestors wanted both our peoples to become." The grand meeting chamber of the Astral Empire's flagship hung silently in Earth's orbit. Alex stood at the presentation podium, surrounded by holograms showing the ancient texts. The Empire's full council sat before him, their silver skin reflecting the blue light of Earth visible through the massive window behind them. "What you're about to see will change everything you believe about your civilization," Alex began, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "Elder Mex, please share what you found in the sealed archives." Mex stepped forward, holding a small crystal device. His hands trembled slightly as he activated it, projecting images of documents the Empire's leadership had kept hidden for generations. "Our entire history is built on lies, Mex announced to his fellow aliens, "We didn't develop our technology. We didn't advance through our own brilliance. We found scattered pieces of our ancestors' work and pretended we had created it ourselves." Angry murmurs filled the chamber. High Consul Rith rose from his seat, but Admiral Stone's quiet voice cut through the noise. "Let him finish. You owe your people the truth." The images change, showing the Empire's first ships, crude copies of ancient designs they had discovered. Next came their weapons, their power systems, their medical technology, all of them simplified versions of what their ancestors had created. "Your leaders found these ruins centuries ago," Alex explained, bringing up more evidence. "But instead of trying to understand the principles behind them, they simply copied what they could figure out. They built your civilization on borrowed knowledge, all while hiding the truth from their own people." James activated another hologram, this one showing the difference between the Empire's current technology and the original designs. "Look at your ship's power core. You're using 10 times more energy than necessary because you don't understand how it really works. Your ancestors left behind the complete instructions, but your leaders chose to hide this knowledge rather than admit they couldn't understand it." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Younger members of the Empire began shouting questions at their leaders. Why had they been lied to? How much knowledge had been kept from them? High Consul Rith tried to regain control. "We did what was necessary to maintain order. Our people needed to believe in their superiority. Your people needed the truth," Alex countered. He brought up images from Earth's ancient civilizations, the pyramids, Stonehenge, the Nazca lines. "Your ancestors didn't think we were inferior. They taught us, guided us, shared their knowledge freely. They saw potential in humanity." Admiral Stone stepped forward. "While your leaders were hiding their ignorance behind false pride, humans spent thousands of years learning to preserve knowledge, to decode lost languages, to understand our past. The very things you mocked us for are what helped us unlock your ancestors' legacy." The evidence was undeniable. Documents showed how each generation of Empire leaders had maintained the deception, carefully controlling what technologies were discovered to maintain their grip on power. They had turned their civilization into a pale copy of what it once was, all while claiming superiority over other species. "But it's not too late," Alex offered, his tone softening. "We've decoded the original knowledge, all of it, and we're willing to share it, not as masters teaching students, but as equals learning together." Mex revealed the final piece of evidence, the original mission statement of the ancient empire. They had been explorers, teachers, builders. They had celebrated diversity and learning. Everything the current empire stood against, their ancestors had stood for. The younger council members moved away from their leaders, gathering around the humans and Mex. Their questions came rapid fire now, eager to learn, to understand, to reclaim their true heritage. High Consul Rith watched his authority crumble. "You'll destroy everything we've built." "No," Alex replied firmly. "We'll help your people rebuild something better, something true to what your ancestors wanted. The question is, will you help us, or will you cling to your lies?" The chamber grew quiet as all eyes turned to the High Consul. The moment of truth had arrived, and with it, the chance to transform an empire built on deception into something far greater. The peace lasted exactly 6 days. High Consul Rith and his loyal followers had escaped during the chaos following the revelations, taking with them a third of the Empire's fleet. Now they had returned, their ships forming a battle line just beyond Mars' orbit. "Surrender the ancient knowledge." Rith's message boomed through every communication channel on Earth. "It belongs to the true Empire. Humans have no right to it." Behind his ships, a massive weapon began charging, its purple glow casting an eerie light on the red planet's surface. Alex stood in Earth's new Defense Command Center, watching the enemy fleet on the massive display screen. Around him, operators worked calmly at their stations, their hands moving over control panels based on the ancient designs. Admiral Stone stood beside him, her face grim but determined. They're using a magnified version of their standard energy weapon, James reported, analyzing the readings. It's unstable. They don't understand the principles behind it. They just made it bigger. Alex nodded. They're desperate. They're trying to use broken copies of ancient weapons without understanding how they work. He turned to Admiral Stone. We're ready. The Admiral gave the order. Around Earth, defensive shields shimmered into existence, layer upon layer of protection based on the true understanding of the ancient technology. They had built these defenses not just to protect Earth, but to demonstrate the difference between copying technology and truly mastering it. Rith's weapon fired. The purple beam streaked across space, massive enough to be visible from Earth's surface. It struck the outer shield and simply disappeared, absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. Impossible. Rith's voice shook with rage. Our weapons are supreme. Your weapons are flawed. Alex replied through the comm channel. You've built them by copying surface details without understanding the core principles. Let me show you what these technologies can really do. He nodded to James, who activated Earth's response. A wave of blue energy spread out from their defense satellites, washing over the Empire's ships. Instead of destroying them, it simply shut them down, deactivating their copied technology with surgical precision. Rith's fleet hung dead in space, their engines silent, their weapons powerless. Only life support and communications remained active. Exactly as planned. This is your final warning, Admiral Stone announced. Surrender now. We don't want to fight you. We want to help you rebuild your civilization properly, the way your ancestors intended. On their screens, they could see chaos erupting on the Empire's ships. Crew members were turning against their leaders, having seen the final proof of how hollow their supposed superiority was. Rith's own flagship became a battleground as younger officers moved to seize control. You've destroyed everything, Rith screamed over the comm. In desperation, he activated his ship's self-destruct sequence, another piece of ancient technology his people had copied without understanding. Alex's fingers flew over his control panel. A contained field of energy surrounded Rith's flagship, isolating it from the rest of the fleet. Inside that bubble, time itself seemed to slow down. That's not destruction, Alex explained calmly. That's what the containment field was really designed to do. Your ancestors built it to protect life, not end it. With a few more commands, he extracted every crew member from the flagship, teleporting them safely to other ships, leaving Rith alone on his bridge. The High Consul stared in disbelief as his ship's self-destruct sequence fizzled out, neutralized by technology he couldn't comprehend. His final gambit had failed. It's over, Admiral Stone declared. Your fleet is disabled. Your crew has abandoned you. Surrender and face justice from your own people. As Earth's ships moved to secure the remnants of the rebel fleet, Alex couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Empire's leaders had feared humans discovering their ancestors' knowledge, believing it would lead to their destruction. Instead, it had given both civilizations a chance to build something new together. Elder Mex's voice came over the comm from one of the loyal Empire ships. Shall we begin the real work now? There's so much more to learn, so much to rebuild. Alex looked at the peaceful blue Earth behind them, then at the stars beyond. Yes, he said. Now we can start building the future your ancestors dreamed of. Together. 1 year after the Great Battle, Alex stood in the newly built Galactic Learning Center in Geneva. The massive building combined architectural styles from both Earth and the Empire, its crystalline spires reaching toward the sky, while its foundation remained firmly rooted in Earth's soil. Students from both civilizations walked its halls, learning together about their shared heritage. Through the window of his office, he could see one of the Empire's ships landing at the nearby spaceport. But it wasn't the intimidating warship of old. This vessel was sleek and beautiful, designed with the true understanding of their ancestors' principles. The ship's energy signature barely registered on sensors, Yet it could travel faster and farther than anything the old empire had built. James walked in, carrying a stack of data tablets. "The latest translations are ready," he said, setting them down on Alex's desk. "The students from the Empire are picking up the ancient language faster than we expected. They're hungry for knowledge. They've been freed from centuries of lies," Alex replied, picking up one of the tablets. "Of course they're eager to learn." He scrolled through the text, noting how the Empire's young scholars had already begun adding their own insights to the ancient knowledge. A soft chime announced another visitor. Elder Mex entered, accompanied by a group of former Empire scientists. Their silver skins still gleamed, but their posture had changed. Gone was the artificial stiffness of supposed superiority, replaced by the genuine confidence of true understanding. "We've finished analyzing the ruins on Proxima b," one of the scientists announced excitedly. "The patterns match exactly what we found on Mars and Earth." The ancient teaching network was vast. They must have reached dozens of worlds. Alex smiled at their enthusiasm. The Empire's people had transformed over the past year. Once they escaped the shadow of their leaders' lies, their natural curiosity and intelligence had flourished. They worked alongside humans as equals, each bringing their own strengths to their shared research. Admiral Stone joined them, now serving as Earth's representative to the new Galactic Council. "The terraform project on Mars is ahead of schedule," she reported. Turns out the ancient archives included complete instructions for planetary restoration. They'd done it before, countless times. Through another window, Alex could see the massive holographic display in the center's main hall. It showed a real-time map of known space, with glowing points marking each newly discovered ruin of the ancient civilization. Earth ships and Empire vessels worked together to explore these sites, no longer competing but collaborating in their quest for knowledge. "They left us a roadmap to the stars," James mused, studying the map. "Not just the technology to reach them, but the wisdom to do it right." A group of children ran past the office, human kids playing with young Empire offspring, all of them wearing student uniforms. They were the first generation that would grow up knowing the truth, free from artificial barriers between their peoples. "The ancient ones would be proud," Mex said softly. "This is what they wanted. Civilizations learning from each other, growing together. We just took a long detour to get here." Alex walked to the central archive, where the original Mars ruins had been carefully reconstructed. The symbols that had started everything still glowed with their own light, but now they were surrounded by new additions, the combined research of human and Empire scholars working together to build upon the ancient knowledge. "We're already going beyond what our ancestors achieved," one of the Empire scientists noted proudly. "By combining human creativity with our technical skills, we're making discoveries they never dreamed of." Outside, the sun was setting over the spaceport. Ships from Earth and the Empire sat side by side, their crews sharing meals and stories. In orbit, the great research stations gleamed like new stars, staffed by mixed teams working to unlock more secrets of the universe. "So what's next?" James asked, looking at the star map. Alex pointed to a cluster of unexplored systems. The ancient ones left markers pointing that way. They knew we'd follow when we were ready. And now, finally, we are. He looked at his friends, human and Empire alike, ready to go find out what else they left for us to discover. The answer was unanimous. Together, they had already rebuilt one civilization and transformed another. The stars were waiting, and this time, they would explore them the right way. Not as conquerors or superiors, but as students eager to learn from the greatest teachers in galactic history.